Alright, so we're going to talk about this church of San Carlo allQuattro Fontaine. And I know I just murdered that. And partially because it's a little confusing, I think. You know, the prompt and everything, they explain things about it, but they don't really go into what's going on with this and why it's important. So I was looking around and I did find this lovely thing here, which is a 360 view of the inside of the church. And one of the main things about this is the geometric structure. And this is the first Baroque church, Baroque architecture that you can really see a breaking with the old. It has some things from the old, but mostly it's a breaking. And that's due to the geometric. And they call them undulating walls. And what do they mean by that? So if you look up here, you can really see it where you got all these curves. And as you go around them, so if you follow my screen thing, you go here, it goes in, goes in, it goes in. That's what they're talking about, is these curves. They just keep going in one curve into another curve. And that's what they're talking about, these undulating walls. They just sort of keep curving into each other. All right, so that's one of the main pieces about it, is that curvature, and it gives a softness to it. Before this, you have your Gothic churches and your Renaissance churches, and they were big and they were flat and they went up big. They were just monstrous. And now you have this itty bitty little church. You didn't have much space to work in, and yet he makes it feel larger by use of the columns, by use of the curves, by use of this geometry to actually fit it into that space that he had. So that is part, and a big part of Baroque architecture is, you know, people think of Baroque and they think of all this ornamentation. And you have that. You can see that in the top of these columns. You can see that in the paintings. You can see that in all these little niches and stuff, and the frames and all this other stuff. And, you know, if you go way up here too, you can see all these gorgeous carvings. And of course, the top is just stunning. All right, so you have all this ornamentation. However, I forgot where I was going for a second. Give me a second. You also have all these curves, where before everything was very straight and very rigid. And you don't have as much as that, especially in Barome's architecture. So this is a huge break with the type of architecture that went on prior to this. All right, so, and in the floor plan, and see, you can just see this curvy. It just goes in and out and in and out, and then you got curves on curves on curves, and it just keeps going around and around and around. All right, and to create the space and stuff, he built up. So the columns help make that feel like it's taller and bigger. And of course, when you're looking at how they're designing great rooms and things today, if you have something that you don't have a lot of room for it, but if you go up vertically, it does give you a feeling of more space than otherwise. So that's always interesting. So that's a big part of it right there. Another thing is that understanding, so you can see all my searches, understanding that this is the first real Baroque architecture you have, that's the importance of this. That's one of the biggest importances of this, okay? And then they're talking about continuity and stuff. So they're talking about the continuity going forward. How does that fit in? Now, somebody went and she made some really great points on the columns, and oops, that one doesn't work. So on the columns here, you can see they're not quite totally 3D. They are connected to the back, and yet they get the feeling that they're really high relief, so it feels like they're more 3D and all. And they're more ornamentation than they are support, I believe. So I would have to look that up more, but I'm pretty sure they're more ornamentation than support, though they look like they're supporting a lot, doesn't it? So, but these type of columns too, yeah, you can tie these back into the High Renaissance, which was just before this, and some of the Gothic and Roman and stuff. So you got the continuity of the columns of what came before him, but now you have the continuity of the Baroque, which is the curves and the geometric structures that they use to make new buildings, and then adding the ornamentation and everything to it. So that's really an important piece to really get, is that geometric structure and such, and how that all works. Okay, so I really wanted to express that with you. This is very nice. This here goes through and tells you, and this goes into this whole, like the function, the content, and everything. So I'm going to link that into the class as well. Don't go back and redo the essays you've done and stuff. Just be aware. This is really why do they choose these things? And then this is the Khan Academy one. And then I was looking and oops, there it is. Oops, that's not what I was looking for. Sorry. Here we are. I found this on the criteria for scoring this one and discussing it. So I'm going to put this in here too. This talks about a lot about this. It's an iconic example of your Italian Baroque architecture. So what does it mean by that? It means that it is the exemplifier. It's the best example of this type of architecture, of all the other ones that might have come behind it. All right, so and it's interesting that it was the first one he started, but it was also the last one to complete. So it's sort of fun that way, but you don't need to know that one, but it's sort of fun. But see, the biggest thing is this innovative spatial geometry. So, and that it's combining that oval with the cross shape, where before in the other floor plans prior to this, in the High Renaissance and in all the other ones, it was more of a cross one. It was strictly straight down, and then you got that the cross, the piece that crisscrosses to make the cross. All right, so so it talks about here, he stretched the church dome to heighten the tension of the space. Okay, and then the interior decoration, all right, is exaggerating your implied perspective. And that's done also, the implied perspective is also done with the not the Colosseum, the in Rome, there's temple, a big temple in Rome in Roman times, that the Parthenon, and they had to fix the perspective, because if you looked at it from being underneath and everything was perfectly straight, it would look all cantywampus. And so it's artificially used geometry to make it look like a straight visually. And so he does some of the same thing. So and then we got hidden windows, which I did not know, so that's sort of cool. It's a characteristic feature of Baroque architecture, and so to get some light in there. Now we're talking about the exterior, which we haven't really talked about, but it goes, all right, curvilinear forms. So that means that undulating walls, where they're all curving into each other. Again, that's what they're talking about. Okay. So, so you're talking about concave and convex. So concave circles in and convex circles out. So again, it's that curving, where that's how he curves it curve into another. Without it going concave and convex, you wouldn't have that movement of the walls there. And again, you're looking at the movement, the rhythm of those walls and stuff. So, and the continuity between the interior and the exterior space, what they're talking about is, all right, you have to, what's going on inside is also going on outside. So if this wall is curving, if the inside wall curves, the outside wall curves. It's not that the inside wall curves and the outside wall is straight and they have this empty space between the outside and the inside wall. They both go at the same direction. Okay, so that's sort of what they're talking about, is that continuity, that movement, and what's going on inside. You're seeing, if you are outside, you're going to see the same thing. All right. Another one is they're talking about undulating. So again, that's that curve in and curve out between, and so the cornice is that decorative piece that sticks out and sort of divides the front, the top, and the bottom. All right. And then you have the columns, which is pushing and giving you that space upwards. Okay, so these are all important things to understand that. And again, it gives it a sculptural feeling to the building itself. It feels like the building itself is a piece of sculpture and not just a square big building that they shoved in there. All right. So hopefully this will help you out. I'm going to add these to the thing so you have them for reviewing when you're reviewing stuff. And I would think one of the reasons they hit this one so much is because, again, it's the iconic example of Baroque architecture. It's one of the first pieces of Baroque architecture, and they really want you to understand it. And it would probably be on the test. I would think it's on a test somewhere, how many times they repeat it. All right, so hopefully this helps you understand a little bit more what they're asking for in those prompts on the continuity and the symbolism, the geometric symbolism with the oval and the geometry and things like that and stuff. So really listen and take a look at some of the stuff for this specific architecture.